morning, ladies and gents. It's Saturday, so you know what that means. It's time to go down to Lakeville, Mass, to New England Muscle Cars, and work on the 69 Chevelle today. Just came from Dunks. Seems like I've settled into a routine where Dunks is going to be a weekend thing now that I make coffee at work. So today's plan, we are going to get the amp wire. We're going to do my trunk wiring. So the amp wire, fuel pump power, and fuel level sender wires. We're going to get those run today. Then I'm going to power up the standalone fuse block, or the standalone harnesses fuse block. See if I got communication with my ECM TCM. We have a starter back here, so we're going to be able to crank it. I just got to grab some bolts and maybe spray a little fuel in the throttle body, see if it fires. Not going to run because we don't have fuel lines in it yet, but it's my general plan. And then if I get done with all that stuff fast enough, I'm going to start cleaning up the interior wiring and go from there. We're here. All right, as you can see, McDreamy is no longer a semi-complete truck. The complete rolling chassis and drivetrain is out to our friend John over at FX Innovations, and he is currently mocking up the exhaust, or not mocking up, mocking and finishing up the exhaust. Battery tray mount for the bed. So if you remember, this bed has porta cable raises in it, and we're going to put the battery right back here in this area in that porta cable tower, because if we did it in that one, there's a lot of stuff going on back there, including the fuel tank. If you ever needed to service the battery, it'd make it a pain in the ass. This one right here, wide open, so we're good. He's doing a ton of final sanding on this stuff. It should be getting sprayed soon, I believe this week. This interior will get Dynamated, whatever version of Dynamat we use. It'll be soundproofed. And then we start putting it together. It's going to be a ton of work. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be stressed. But we basically need to have the truck finished for probably the first week in January, so we can do photos, get miles on it, work out any little tweaks there may be. But that leaves us a little bit over 2 months, but I gotta tell you, it's 2 months. It goes by like that, and it's holiday months. So we got Thanksgiving, we got Christmas, we got New Year's. It's a lot of crap going on. So luckily, like I've told you before, I have no life, so I'll be here pretty much every weekend. But let's go take a look over at the Chevelle and see where we are at that. So my table space seems to be getting a little smaller and smaller every time I come in. All right, good. The interior's out. This one's also been matted. So I've got to run right back in that corner where the speaker wires come through. That's where I'm going to run my powers and my fuel level sender wire that I need. Let's see what we got in the engine bay. Okay. So he's loomed everything, which is good. The horns are in. So this is my horn power wire, or coming off of the horns. This is alternator. This is my horn power wire, so I've got to connect those two today. We're getting the intake mocked up, which we're going to bring that out right down in over to here. Might get a short stack filter and put a cover here. Might just run it over there. They're mocking up the upper. Hey, watch out you don't hit your head on that right there. Mocking out the upper hose. The lower hose should be simple. We just got to come down and go down into here. The upper hose, he wants to kind of just cut this one and join it here to here. I kind of want to do like I did in Chili Pepper, where we bring this one a straight 90. Here we go. That's pretty tight. Straight 90 off of there, and then the aluminum 90 this way, so I have more room to bring my intake tube out. We'll see as we go. We'll see which way works. I'm gonna pull out, oh, he's got the AC lines are all run. They're not crimped, but they're all run. I will crimp those today. There's another one right in there. So that one has to be crimped and hooked up there. And I believe there's one on this side. Okay, this side needs to be crimped as well. So we'll do that too today. But let me go over to the wire spools and grab some 8 gauge for the amp. Probably some 10 gauge for the fuel pump. And see if we have any small gauge wire for the sender, because we don't need anything for that. Oh, just realized the what do you call that thing that wipes the windshield? Windshield wiper motor is in too. And I also just realized I need to go over to there and grab my center outfield lights too, because it's dark as crap over here. So let me go take care of that small bunch of stuff, and then I'll bring you back in once I start doing something. So I've got a nice pleasant surprise for you guys. You saw like the mess that the trunk was previous when I was in here trying to figure out wiring and the battery and the amp and everything. Well, we've got the TMI kit in there now. Super nice, super clean. So it's a nice surprise for you. What's a nice surprise for me is it was supposed to be taken out of here so I can actually get to the amp and wire all that stuff in. So it looks like I'm starting on that first. So let me get going on that. Just for reference, now you can see what it looks like without that kit in there. But we got amp. Yellow is going to be my fuel pump power. Blue is going to be my fuel level sender. But we have those run through. This is the rough run coming out where everything else comes out. So amp obviously is going to go straight up to the battery. Fuel level sender is going to go to my Dakota digital box, which is going to be under here somewhere. And fuel pump power is actually going to be off of one of those 2 relays. One of them is your main on relay, the other one is your fuel pump relay. So the way they do these PSI harnesses is they give you the fuel pump relay, and the switch side of it is wired up, but main power in and main power out is not. So I just have to add those, which is no big deal. So I am going to re-secure all this mess down here, and I can cut and terminate my amp wire. Obviously I'm going to actually unwrap this and pull some of that amp wire back there because we don't need this much slack. These I need slack for the fuel pump because we are going to run them down through oh, it's I got to take this last panel off, but there's a pass-through for the fuel level sender wire, and we're going to use that. Pulled out that last part, and stupid me, totally forgot. Forgive me, it's been a really long week. I don't need to run a fuel level sender wire because we have the factory one down here that's cut below here. So I'm just going to extend that. So let me redo what I already redid. So I've got my amp and fuel pump power wires run. Amp's going to go through the firewall. I'm going to do that in a minute. Fuel pump wire is going to go to that fuse block when I figure out where I'm putting that. What I'm actually going to do now, I had to take a break and talk to a couple of customers. I'm going to crimp these AC lines so I can mount my battery, because I got to take the battery out to crimp that one that's down in there. And once the battery's in, I'm going to hook my power stuff up, and I'm going to use my power probe and give the ECM power, and we're going to see if we have communications. And then I'm going to take care of some of the stuff that I need to take care of with the ECM hooked up, like figure out if I'm hooking my alternator wire up just to my 12-volt switched ignition, or let me find where it is. Oh, I think it's tied down there. I have my 2-wire alternator plug that PSI gave me, even though we requested a 4-wire, but I believe one of those 2 wires is a 12-volt power turn on. So if it is, I can just use their existing harness to turn on my alternator. So we are going to go and do that now, and then hopefully I can get my laptop to communicate with this ECM, and if I have everything hooked up correctly, which I believe I do. After 10 minutes of looking, I found the hydraulic hose crimper set. So I'm not going to give you guys a refresher on this thing. If you want to look, I think it was the last 1 or 2 end videos of Chili Pepper. I showed you how this thing works. It's pretty amazing. can crimp hydraulic hoses, AC hoses, the whole 9 yards. It's beautiful. So I'm gonna get to that and then crimp all this stuff up. Well, I got all of our connections crimped now, so I can put the battery back in, hook the power up. Also, I don't know if I've mentioned this. I don't think I have, actually. If you guys want to see some behind the scenes stuff, I also have an Instagram, and New England Muscle Cars has an Instagram. I will link them here. Mine is right here. New England Muscle Cars is right here. Hopefully I can actually figure out how to do this in post-production, but if not, you can find them buried somewhere in the profile as well, because for some reason YouTube decided to move them and not have them out in the front because it's not theirs, they don't want it there. So let's see, I'm gonna put the battery in, like I said, hook the power up. You know, one thing I realized I need to be able to see if this this is all parts for the C10. One thing I do need to see if this ECM is all hooked up and running and correct is an ECM that's not on those two main connectors there. So I'm going to put the battery and the power wires on, and then I'm going to take a walk around and see if I can find where we put the ECM. It's a really good question. All right, battery is in, wires are hooked all the way up to the starter. Starter ignition wire is not hooked up because I'm verifying that that actually switches when I want it to. Oh, I also didn't show you guys Billet Specialties steering wheel is in as well. And I have to make sure the horn is working because it definitely was working before. So let's see, we should hear a beep out here. I got the radio off. When I crank, it should beep. Oh, good. So we have ignition power down to the starter. So if I plug that into the starter, we should be able to crank. Okay, so I know I'm super famous for, hey guys, we're gonna have it cranking over at least in this episode, and then 1.5 million other things come up and I can't get to that point because I have to take care of them. 1.5 million other things have come up and I have to take care of them, but we are cranking. Obviously it's not going to start. Powertrain management's not hooked up, fuel lines are not hooked up, but it cranks. So small wins. Okay, so why is my windshield wiper motor smoking and making weird noises? Well, here's my schematic off of Painless, and none of those wires match up to the colors that are on the actual connectors in there. So, stuff I didn't know I had to do today. I'm going to strip this harness back down and wire these in where I'm supposed to. I have all the correct color wires, but they're not in the correct connectors. Supposedly, this one's supposed to be in this connector, this light blue. This black one's supposed to be in one of the connectors. So I'm going to do it how Painless has it wired up, and then we'll see if that works, because I would rather not smoke a wiper motor, you know? Okay, moment of truth. I've found the ECM. It's plugged in. Fuse block is powered. Ignition is on right now. Let's see if I can pull the tune. Let's see if I can communicate with this thing and pull the tune. First of all, we'll do the VCM scanner. That'll give me a quick, is it communicating check. Hopefully it is. Let's see. Ooh, that's promising. Unable to detect the protocol. Let me see, make sure my connector is plugged in. We are plugged in. Let's refresh this. Oh, you know what? Let me check. I think there might be one ground that I'm missing down there. Well, all of my grounds and my powers are there. The OBD2 battery voltage terminal is powered. I can't pull protocol off of this ECM for some reason. So that leads me to believe one of a couple scenarios. We've had one PSI harness before that it was incorrectly pinned for a O2 sensor. Might have one incorrectly pinned for this. Before I do that though, we have an ECM somewhere for McDreamy, which is an E67 ECM, but we'll plug in where this E38, actually, I believe this is an E67 too. Just so I can see if the ECM, because we might have a bare ECM that needs to have a program put in it first. Other than that, I'm quite confused at why I can't get into this PCM and read. I did hook it up to my truck just to make sure it wasn't my laptop or my MPVI, and it's not. So I'm just going to continue doing small things until Bossman gets here and I can see if that other ECM is here or not. Pushing on. I've got to find my wiring harness. One of these, the small plug, goes to the actual control head over here. The big plug goes to all my wiring that goes outside. So I've got to find that wiring harness to do that, because then that wiring harness and this amplifier wire are going to be run through the firewall over here, tucked over somewhere, and up to the battery. Because on that harness there is your one power wire, two ground wires, and your one AC turn-on wire. So I'm going to find that and run those now, I guess. I turned around, my harness was right there. So I'm going to unwrap this thing and lay it out. PCM non-communication issues really screwing me. That's a big wrench in my forward progression this morning. So we're on to, like I usually am, small victories. Here's one of them. We have a horn. That is the smallest of small victories. But you know what? One way or another, I got to keep knocking things off the list because I'm stuck on that ECM issue right now. So I think next, I have my wires all run out of the grommet over here. Which way can I go? This way. Out of that grommet. So that's my amp wire, all my vintage air wiring. It's all run through the fender well up here. So I think I'm going to start terminating those to go to the side terminals on this battery. And the only other wire, I believe, if I am remembering everything, is the fan turn-on wire that comes out of this PSI harness. They actually give you two for a fan 1 and fan 2. I'm only using one of them because both of our fans are hooked up to that nice new double relay that I have over there. And I believe it's these two. I gotta check the paperwork real quick, but fan 1 and fan 2. And much like Holly with the factory ECU here and HB tuners, I can command the fans on whenever I want. Biggest thing being between this and the Holly is the lowest you can go on the factory ECMs is 192, which is fine. That's all you need. So if you're one of those people that like to run a 160 thermostat for absolutely no good reason on a fuel injected car, you're probably going to want a Holly or a manual switch to turn it on, because otherwise you're just destroying the whole idea of your heat exchanger system, and you'll be running like you have no thermostat because it'll be wide open all the time. Okay, we're going to move on to our next group of small victories, and that is getting rid of all of this wiring I don't need. Obviously I got stuff over here, like I know this is all my ignition stuff, this is my brake stuff, or brake switch. I've already got this harness over here. This is my neutral safety switch and backup switch wiring. Stuff like, let me unhook my shoelace from this floor bolt. This switch that doesn't need to be in here. This is just a toggle switch that they had set up for the manual battery disconnect, which I still am not sure why they had that in there, but we are going to get rid of that. I'm going to start working on and cleaning up a lot of this wiring, pinning it out and seeing what it is, power or not. I know one of them is going to go in here to my pin switch, where that got yanked out before I got on here. I believe the other one has both wires hooked up to it still, so I'm going to jump over there in a second and see what color wires those are, so I can see what we got going on here. Also, this thing has all the random wiring for all your little under dash lights and stuff. We usually don't put those in. We usually use the dome light with a really super bright, nice LED light and bypass all that extra wiring under here for these stupid footwell lights, because I mean, do you really want to stare at your feet? You don't really need them. Well, I've got 2 black wires here with battery voltage, key on or off. Why I have black wires with battery voltage, key on or off, I have no idea. So I'm going to do some tracing. It looks like both of them go into this rear harness that goes to the back. So I'm going to trace those back there and see what the hell those are. Well, I figured out what they are. So it's my power feed back and then back to the front. For some reason they run it all the way to the back and then back. Oh, well, they run it all the way to the back actually, because it goes up this rear sail panel. But let me ground out the short side. Oh, there we go. So I only technically have 1 wire that's powered. The other one is on the ground side of the switch. So I'm gonna go hook up these door pin switches now. Okay, so I've got all the wires for the amp and the HVAC terminated and hooked up, except for the blue wire, because that's my AC turn on that has to go to this primary switch once we get that in. And I've got this interior wiring as neat as it's going to get. I've got all my solenoid bank mounted up over here, out of the way for any of the gauges and stuff that are coming in here. Obviously wires for the headlights and for the wipers. Wires for my fuel tank sender is pink, and the reds are for my battery and switched power for my radio, and these are my high beam and directional indicators for the cluster. This is staying because this is my illumination on the inside for everything. Told you already, these are my neutral safety switch and reverse wiring. This, with these 2 bullet connectors, I believe are going to the cigarette lighter. So that's going to be sitting right here. Cut out a bunch of all the old HVAC wiring in there that we don't need and cleaned up this harness all the way over there. I've got my wires for my illumination and switched ignition for the vintage air sitting up there waiting for wiring. And I think that's going to be it for today. There's a lot of small stuff. Didn't really get as much done as I wanted to. Got it cranking over. That's good. Kind of bummed I couldn't get any communication to this ECM, but I'll figure that out during the week. But I actually have to go work after work after work. So I got to go work on a friend's car now. And then maybe tomorrow fishing. That's my plan. It just depends how much energy I got once I get out of bed tomorrow morning at 5:30 in the morning again. So, as always, stay tuned, more to come, and thanks for watching.